Okay, as promised, here's a little quick tutorial on how to do the beauty blog for those of you that didn't get it done. This is the PDF and it shows our dimensions. So um, we're ultimately going to put it in a file that's 700 pixels wide by, let's make it 400 pixels high. We're going to crop a left and a right, and what we're going to do is that these images are going to get cropped at 200 wide by 300 high. Okay, so let's get started. So here's a photo of a young thug. Um, what I did is I brought a guide. Uh, I've got my rulers open, and I've got them set to pixels. So what I did is I brought a guide to the center line of the face. And what I want to do is, as I'm cropping this, I want to maintain the center line right down the center of the face. And you can see the face is not quite straight up and down, so we're going to correct that. Okay, so first we want to do is we want to crop it. And we want to set the cropping dimensions to 200 pixels, make sure they're pixels, by 300 pixels high at 300 pixels per inch. And then what I want to do is crop it really, really close. And you'll see what happens is the guide stays with the photo, which is nice. So I can snap it right to that little guide in the center. And I want to bring it in a little closer because it's really about the face. All right. So one of the things you can see is, again, the face is a little bit tilted. So I'm going to crank it over a little bit. So what I did was I right clicked and I'm on the crop tool, and when I hover over the corner here, the arrow turns into a little curved arrow, and then that allows me to turn it. So that's a little bit better. Okay. So I'm going to turn my snaps off because it's not allowing me to move it very finely. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to move this, the center line back. So I'm going to hit the Command key, and what will happen is when I hover the cursor over this, you see it turns into that little double arrow. That'll allow me with the Command key held to, okay, recenter the center line on the face. Okay, but I'm still not at the center, there you go, of the image, which is going to be crucial. I still don't have the face quite centered. That's okay. It's going to make it look, one side looks skinny and one side, but it'll be fine. Um, okay, so then I hit crop or hit enter. All right. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to crop each side. So now I go to the crop tool and I want to reset the width to 100 pixels, but I'm going to leave it at 300 high. So what I'll do is now this, I do want to set the snap back. So I'm going to go view snap. And what I want to make sure I do is I snap, I'm not too concerned about over here, but I do want to snap the center line right to the edge, the leading edge of the image. Okay, so I'm going to save this. I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call it Left. And I'm going to save it as a JPEG to the desktop. Save. Okay. Now I'm going to go Edit, Step Backwards. And I'm going to go to the crop tool again. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop the other side. And again, I want to crop to the center line. That's good. So I'm going to go crop. Then I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm going to go right. Save. Okay. And then I'm going to go Edit, Step Backwards. And now I'm going to save this as the original. So I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'll say Original. So now I've got 3 files on the desktop that are ready to place. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to go File, New. I'm going to make the file format. So it's going to be 700 pixels wide. It's going to be 400 pixels high, and the resolution again is going to be 300. I want to be in RGB color because we're going to be posting it online. And then let's change the background from white. We'll go background color and we'll click this and let's make it a gray and hit OK. And there it is. So hit the escape key to get out of the crop tool. Okay, now before I go any further, what I need to do is I need to make a composite of those lefts and rights. So I'm going to go File, New, and it's going to be 200, and it's going to be 300. At 300, I hit OK. And so now what I want to do is I'm going to hit Command plus to get it so I can see it. I'm going to place the left. There he is. Place. Okay. So I'm going to move him over. All right. And I'm going to hit Enter to place it. And then I go to the Move tool, hit the Option key, hold and drag, and it makes a copy. And then I'm going to go Edit, Transform, and I'm going to go Flip Horizontal. There we go. So, oh look, he's got horns. So I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call this Left Composite. And I'm going to save it as a JPEG. And that will flatten it to the desktop. There it is. Okay, you can see that it's went back to the PSD file. That's fine. So what I could do is I could delete these two layers, and now what I can do is since I've saved that composite, I can now go File, Place Embedded, and now I bring the right in. There he is. Okay, hit Enter, and then select the Option key, hold it down, click and drag, makes a copy. Then I'm going to go Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal, and then I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to go Right Comp, and I'm going to save that as a JPEG. Okay, so it saved it, but what it did is it brought it, we're now looking at the PSD file, so we don't need that. Okay, now we can go to our 700 by 400 file, and now we can place the originals in the composites. So we're going to go File, Place Embedded. So I'll do the left composite first. And then you'll see that it stays to that center line. That looks good. Hit Enter. And then I'm going to go File, Place Embedded. And I will do the original. That places it right in the center. That's fine. I'm going to probably move this one over, but I'll leave that for now. And now I'm going to go File, Place Embedded. I'm going to place the right composite. And move it over here. So I want to move this over just a little bit. Okay, and then I want to go back to the left composite. So I have to select that. I have to place that. Select the left composite layer, and then I move it over just a little bit. That looks pretty good. All right, so I think I want to move all three up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'll select all three layers. So I'll click and then hit the Command key and select the next one. So what that does is selects all three. I can bump it up with the up arrow on the keyboard, and maybe I'll bump the whole thing over a little bit. That looks good. All right. Um, my background is a little bit light, but I can certainly make it darker. What I can do is select that layer, and then I can do this with the bucket tool. So let me select a little darker, and then we go to the bucket tool, and what it did is it made the whole ground darker. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's flatten the whole image, and then we'll put our labeling on it. So we'll go layer, flatten image. All right, you can see it's one. And now we'll go to the text tool. So we'll go to text, and I like using Arial rounded, but let's make it about 10 point. So we need the text to contrast, so maybe we use white. Okay, and start here, and we will go left, original, and then right. And then I can play around with moving these guys around a little bit. Boom. That looks good. So I'll just save it. I'll go ahead. If I save it as JPEG, it'll flatten the whole thing. So I'll go File, Save As. I'll call it Young Mr. Phobes. And we'll save it as a JPEG. Okay. So it's ready to load into your journal. Even though it's 700 wide, make sure that as your journal posting, you post it in at 500 wide. That's all there is to it.